A company's job is to make money from you. That's its job. So how do we do our job? Well, I'll give you a shocking stat. People don't believe this, but I can prove it. The average person in the United Kingdom could give themselves the equivalent of a 25% pay rise by taking a day off work and shifting to the best product on everything. 25%. I did a show for ITV, it was my own series called Make Me Rich a couple of years ago, and my challenge was to go into houses for a day and see how much money I could save people. Some were in debt, some weren't, all had average incomes around the £30,000 type mark. The average saving, and this is not by saying don't have your cappuccino, which you shouldn't do if you can't afford it, but if you like it, it's great, though you are paying for a lot of hot air. Bit like today where you're not paying for a lot of hot air. Now, the average person, after a day of that, could save themselves £5,000. Now, if you're a student right now, what I would encourage you to do is never be in the position where I could save you £5,000, because you start right. Here we have a blank slate. Everything you do from now on, in general, is your first decision in the adult world. Your first foray into competitive marketplaces. So the golden rule is to remember, it's competitive, they want my business. And it's not just a start point. There's an apathy issue that goes on. Oh, let's play a game. I'm going to give you the same one as I asked my teen cash class. They were 15. All right? Now, parents, shh, because you've been in this world. This is only for students. You've got car insurance. You've had it a couple of years. You're an existing customer. Who are they going to give a better deal to? Their existing loyal customer who's been with them a couple of years, or their new customers? Who's going to get the better deal? Right, students, who thinks the existing customer will get the better deal? There's a few over there. Who thinks a new customer? I like you lot. Glad we're at the LSE. Of course! Do you want to be the customer whose business is fought for in a rapacious market, where they're saying, we want you, we want you, we want you? Or are you going to sit there and give them your business by apathetically signing up each year? Do you know, when you actually do the comparisons, nearly a quarter of the people in this country who do a comparison for car insurance find the company they're currently with is the cheapest, but only if they sign up as a new customer. Someone emailed me the other day, 500 quid for car insurance they were paying on their renewal. They checked it out as a new customer and it was 350 quid, the same car insurance. A company's job is to make money, not to give you cheap products. Yes, it may have good customer service. Great. Why? It's a function of profitability. Some people choose on price, some people choose on service. You have to put where you are in the market, but never think it's doing that service for good reasons. Or bad. It's doing that service because its job is to make money for its shareholders. Where do we take this? Well, we go to banks. Now, I don't know if many of you know, I've been just a little bit involved in a campaign to reclaim bank charges. Just a touch, 1.3 million people. We've got over £1 billion back from the UK banks because I believe bank charges are unlawful. We're just starting one on reclaiming loan insurance. It's much bigger. It's £5 billion a year. What's the fundamental problem? Banks offer you a makeover on your money. They do it as students, they do it as adults. They'll say, come in, we'll look after your money. It is not an advisory clinic, it is a sales clinic. They are being paid commission. Their job is to sell you things. Please understand that. Please. They are sales-based organisations. They are not advisory organisations. They are not independent. They will only flog you their own products. And they will do that because they're being paid commission on it. The payment protection insurance, doesn't matter what it is, thing I'm doing is because it's very lucrative. 90% of it is profit. That's why there are 20 million policies in this country, of which probably 15 million were missold. Their job is to make you money. Now, what do you think the job of a supermarket is? Come on. To make money. Walk in, nice smell, feel hungry, want to buy. Oh, I need my rice and why is the bread not next to the milk or the eggs? Why do I have to walk all the way around and see all these nice things? Oh, isn't that interesting? That good that's really profitable is right at my eye level, and those kiddie sweets are at my child's eye level. Isn't that a coincidence? Tesco Finest. The finest product you can get. Says who? Oh, Tesco. Yeah. Oh, that's salmon Tesco Finest that comes from Scotland, and the beef bourguignon comes from a factory in Hungary or wherever. I'm making that up. But they're not made by the same people. Why are they both finest? A supermarket's job is to make money from you. They will train you over the years, your parents, some of them are in here, to move up, hypnotise, moving up brand levels because it's better and we've got the neighbours round, we've got Tesco Finest. No, they're delineating what's good or bad. You are the consumer. You delineate what's good or bad, not them. You make those choices. Supermarkets are cathedrals of consumerism, the most perfectly honed environment to making us spend money possible, and boy are they good at it. But it doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean they're better. I'm not anti-supermarkets. They've been incredible for price deflation. They've really brought prices down in this country. But they do hone us into the channels that they want. And the next stage is, you know, we've had this mass industrialized society where things are built on price. But what we actually need is to start thinking in terms of mass customization. I want what I want, that I'm making the choice for myself, not what you want me to have. Because if you fall into that trap, you spend money when you don't need it. And as I say, check everything. Council tax. Oh, it's not a company. It's fine then, isn't it? Well, no, actually, most council tax in this country is based on a fundamentally flawed system. They rated houses back in 1991 on what council tax band you will go in. They drove through. It was called a drive-by assessment by estate agents. That'll be a band C, that'll be a band D. That's how it worked. About 5% of people in this country are paying too much council tax because they're in the wrong band. It takes you 10 minutes to check. You're a new student, you've got your council tax, go check. There's an article on my website how to do it. Go check whether you're in the right council tax band. Question everything. But there is an enemy possibly more dangerous than the banks, with bigger claws than the supermarkets. You. We're the people who spend. Impulse. I see it, I want it. Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that coat. Isn't that lovely? Isn't it marvellous? We spend. We spend, we don't budget. We don't question our spending habits. You're students, you're going to have limited cash. Your parents may be able to bail you out, but do you want them to? You're an adult. Time to stand up for yourself. So the other thing you have to take on is your own spending habits. Now, I always talk about money mantras. I'm going to do them in here. 2 money mantras for you. A, if you are skint. Do I need it? Well, if you don't need it, don't have it. Can I afford it? Well, if you can't afford it, don't have it. Can I find it cheaper elsewhere? If you have not checked, even if you need it and can afford it, don't have it. That's if you're skint. But what about if you're not skint? Hopefully, fingers crossed. Well, if you're not skint, then there's 3 different questions we ask ourselves. Will I use it? Well, if you won't use it, don't have it. Is it worth it? Economists, opportunity cost. This £100 for this beautiful pair of boots, ladies, fantastic, gorgeous, best I've ever seen. Would I really prefer to spend £100 on this pair of boots or this pair of boots that aren't quite as good, which are £30, but I have 70 quid in cash? That's your real choice. Is it worth it if I'm only going to wear them 2 or 3 times? Is it worth it? If it's not, don't get it. If you're not sure, wait a day. Think about it. And of course, the last question, have I checked to see if I can find it cheaper elsewhere? We have to take control of our own spending impulses. We have to budget. We have to look at the amount of money we've got going in. It's a really difficult question, this one. This is the thing nobody ever tells you. Parents, don't spend more than you earn. Don't spend more than money you've got coming in. Dead easy, yeah? We know that. But what do you tell your students? What do you tell them not to spend more than? I'm looking at blank faces. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Well, they've got no income unless they get a job, and they may have to do so. So where do we set our budget? And this is one of those great conundrums of student lives. At what point do we say, This is how much you should spend, and you shouldn't spend beyond this because you don't have an income. Spent a lot of time pondering about this, I have to tell you. And the answer, and again, I'm basing on UK finance, but those from overseas, it's quite similar. The answer for me is quite simple. You have your student loan, that is your maintenance. You have money your parents may give you or may make up the student loan. Let's add that in there. You have your money from your job, if you work. We'll add that in there too. Let's define that as your income. Even though the student loan is borrowing, you're in a very strange situation where we actually have to consider borrowing as income. That's what's forced on us by how the government chooses to fund students in this country. So student loan, parental contributions and job is how we say that's your income. The interest-free overdraft is only for short-term cash flow. We should not consider that part of our income. And as for commercial debt, I won't even go there. So that's how much you've got to spend. And that's what you should be setting your budget on. And when I say budget, I mean budget. I mean, you go and you work out, what do I have to spend on different things? Now, one tip is don't just have one bank account. Segment your bank account. You get your money at the beginning of the year. You need to work out what your bills are going to be. Have a bills account for bills. Maybe, if you're a lucky student, you want to go on holiday, use the flight checker on my website. I'll tell you how to do it for under £10 each way anywhere in Europe. So have a little bit of money that's your holidays account and actually segment your budget into different pots. I call it piggy banking. Why? Because then normally, you see, the problem with a bank account is it lies to you. Oh, look, I've got 1,200 quid. Well, you haven't because you've got your gas and electricity bill tomorrow and you've got your rent coming out the next day. And you've got your telephone bill the next day. You don't really have 1,200 quid. You've actually got minus 200 quid. But it doesn't tell you that. It's a snapshot of today. So how do we get past that? We put our money into different pools, a bills account, a holidays account, a Christmas account, or an Eid account, or a Hanukkah account, or whatever you want it to be. And you put your money into that pot. And then when you look at that account, you go, I have £130 to spend on my holiday. Not how much can I spend on holiday, I have £130. One of the gorgeous questions of budgeting, let's talk Christmas because I always like that one because this is where people often get it wrong, but it applies to anything, is people say to me, this Christmas we want a great tree, we want fantastic food, I want to buy the kids a 15-foot trampoline, how do I afford it? What's the cheapest way to do that? Because I'm on a strict budget. And a bit like the BBC reporter, I go, question doesn't make sense. The question you have to ask is, I have £240 to spend on Christmas that I have budgeted on. What is the best Christmas I can have for my £240? The money is the driver. How much money I can afford to spend is what you set your limits at, not stop thinking what you want. Now, I agree this doesn't always work. One of the things that always make me laugh, ladies love this one, women love this when I suggest this. Men go, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and women go, you're just talking nonsense. So let's say you've got 15 quid to spend on a blouse, as we're doing women, and you go into a shop. Now, what I would say to you is, you look down all the labels for all of those that cost under 15 quid, and you only look at the ones that cost under 15 quid. Yeah, I know, you win some, you lose some. Right. So, budget, don't spend. And very importantly, for new students, the first thing to remember, what the common mistake is out there. You've got your money, it's coming, it's your first time you've got the cash in your pocket. And you're like, I've got some money, you've got some money, right? And so you start spending. We have it. I work in a big office block. There are lots of other offices, and there's a TV production company, a very famous one called Endemol, that works upstairs. And towards the end of the month, the bar, because there's a bar in the complex, I'm looking at one of my teams here, it's true, isn't it, Archie? Is always really busy because it's just after payday. And you hear them going, hey, I've been paid, let's have a big night. Lots of TV researchers, very young. But this is a problem, you see, because what happens then is you hear them a week from the end of the month, and this is the same, the end of term for you, and they're going, I've got no money left. Now, the correct way to do this is, and when I upset the shopping for women, I'm never going to win that one. This one I want to win, right? This is how you party. Not like that. You party by budgeting at the start of term, by being relatively strict with your finances. And then at the end of term, because you've budgeted well, you now know how much you've got left if you really want to splash out, provided we're not doing commercial borrowing for it. That's how you budget. I think that bar, for me, in my world, if I were going to talk to them, I would say, I want to see the bar busy the day before you all get paid, because you now know you can actually afford to go to the bar and have a big night. But what you're doing is punishing yourselves, and it might sound draconian, but you're the one who's going to have no money. You're the one going to be eating a tin of cold baked beans. Not me. You. Cold baked beans are not very nice, occasionally, but not very nice in general. Or asking your friends to loan you money, or calling up your parents, or not being able to afford to go out anywhere because actually, why it's 2 for 1 night tonight? Tonight's a neat, cheap night, but I went out 2 days ago when it was at full price and now I can't afford it. Well, if you'd waited, you could have done. You are the ones who lose out, not me. And not your parents. You have to be in charge of it and in control of it yourself. Be clever. Being clever is really important as well. Research, understanding. Every one of you virtually will have a laptop or a computer. So we look at the competitive marketplace. You've probably got your Norton antivirus on there. Got your Microsoft Office, which, if you really do want it, is available for about 40 quid if you've got a student email address. You can get it at a student discount, well worth doing that. But we should always think of the alternatives. Let's take this and have a look at. So you've got Norton Office, about 50 quid a year. Why aren't you on AVG, a professional company whose job is to make antivirus products for companies? But what AVG does is it gives home users a free license, because the aim is that the home user will use their free antivirus software, which gets regular updates and works. It's a commercial product. They'll use it for free, and then they'll tell their businesses that they work for, hey, this AVG is great and I know how to work it. So have AVG virus, costs you nothing. You're using Microsoft Office. OpenOffice is a compatible project, open source, by people who don't really like Microsoft, I suspect that much. Developers who've gone out and built something similar. How much? It's free. You're budgeting. You're learning to look after your own money. We start by not spending on the things we don't need to spend on. You might have a new house. You might be not living in a hall of residence. There's an organisation called FreeCycle. FreeCycle's a bit like recycling. The difference is what happens in FreeCycle is people say, here, I've got this sofa, I've got this fridge, I don't need it, I want it to go to the community, let's not have it recycled, let's have it reused. It's available for the first person who replies to me. Happens all over the place, very big in London. Get yourself on the FreeCycle list. Furnish your house on things other people don't want. Good quality, make sure they're clean, check there aren't any bugs in there. But actually, FreeCycle, the funny thing is, the people who tend to give to FreeCycle tend to be the more affluent people who can afford not to sell stuff on. So the products you get tend to be pretty good. Where else should we go? Shopbots. Now, it's great talking to this generation because you'll all know this. If you're buying stuff, the internet is cheap. It isn't cheap at January sales time. Shops beat it at January sales time, but the internet is cheap. But the great mistake, who shops at Amazon? Ooh. Amazon is not bad. Nothing wrong with shopping at Amazon. It can often be the cheapest and the best way to go. But only often. To do a search for a product on Amazon takes about 30 seconds. To do a search on Kelku or PriceRunner or Shopping.com, shopping robots that do price comparisons of 30 different websites takes about 30 seconds. You go to Amazon for the book or the CD or whatever you want on Amazon, it takes you 30 seconds to find the Amazon price. You go to Kelku or PriceRunner, it takes you 30 seconds to find the prices of 30 different e-retailers, including Amazon. Why go to Amazon? Go to the price comparison service, the ShopBot, the shopping robot first, then go to Amazon if it's cheapest. But why not, at the same time, go through a cashback website? Does anyone know what cashback websites? Greasy Palm, Top Cashback, Quidco. Anyone in here heard of them? Anyone? Yay! Well done. Right. Clever, these. You'll like these. You can actually make free money doing this as well. Cashback website. The web is driven and riven by advertising. More advertising money now goes on the internet than in newspapers. Now, cashback sites are very simple. The way advertising works on the internet is like this. If you go from one site to another site, and the other site's a retailer or a financial product provider, and they've sent you through some form of advertising link, the first site gets paid. It might be a percentage of what you spend. It might be a flat payment if you get a financial product. What cashback sites do is they take all these links and they list them. So you're going to Amazon. Amazon is paying them if you go through them to Amazon, and they give you some, or in one case, all of that money. So if you're about to buy something, instead of going direct to Amazon, you've now found it's the cheapest price on your shop bot, you now go to a cashback site, Quidco, Greasy Palm, Arnold Points, Top Cashback. You click on the Amazon link, you get to the Amazon store just as normal, in exactly the same way, except this time they give you a percentage of their advertising revenue back to you on whatever you buy. Can be up to 5 or 10% each and every time. Also, if you do the price comparison for you, you get paid for doing the price comparison. You can get one a day. Also, if you do some surveys on there that you're not interested in, we can actually start to get your income without having to spend anything up to about 10 quid a day. Starting to understand how businesses make their money and the model of businesses is the true first step to being an aggressive adversarial consumer. It's the true first step. And I suppose the philosophy works a bit like this. I see consuming as a job, just as importantly as the job you work for. If we go back to the equation before, I said the average person when I did my makeover was 5 grand. So let's say you're half as good. The information's there. You do it yourself as an adult at £2,500. And you're wondering why I'm talking about that, because this is the only time you're ever going to get this. No one does this. You're not going to be told this again. Setting you up for the adult world. Thinking about being a part of society. £2,500 a day you can save yourself by taking a day off work. Let's say that. There's no tax on that £2,500, so what's that? £4,000 a day. £4,000 a day, if you got paid that, times 5 a week is £20,000. About £1 million a year you have to earn before it's not worth doing. Consuming is a job. It's an important use of your time. And sometimes you'll say to me, look, Martin, I don't have the time to save money. I'm busy. A lot of parents are nodding. People who have very good jobs, the equation does change. And I will say to you, you're right. Sometimes you don't. But you also have to accept sometimes you do not have the money to save time. It is an equation, depending on how much you earn. As a student, I would say the equation is very, very, very much skewed in terms of saving money, because you don't earn very much. When you leave and you go get your £958,000 a year job as an investment bank, moving money from one bank to another, or however it actually works, I don't know. When you go and do that, maybe then you don't need the cheapest mobile phone because it'll take you 10 minutes to sort it out and you could have earned £28,000 doing a trade. But right now you do. So consuming is part of your job while you're here. Every element of life, international phone calls, gas and electricity when you're setting up a home, how you spend on your food shopping, what type of transport you use. You're in London, get an Oyster card, please. Everything you do is a consumer decision. I'm going to end and start to take questions in a moment. But just to summarise, debt isn't bad, bad debt is bad. Understand what the debt is, make sure you've budgeted for it, you've planned for it. It's affordable, it's as cheap as it can possibly be. Make sure you control your own spending impulses, you don't spend more than you need to. Most importantly, remember, whether you work for them or not, a company's job is to make money. Your job is to try and keep it. Thank you. Now, if there are questions, UK finance, the future of banking, how to save money on my water meter, I'll try and answer them.